right, so now I'm here with Dylan Hughes. Dylan Hughes is actually the champion beer pong winner. He actually set up all 62 tables to take on the entirety of Formula Drift Salt Lake City right here, right now. Dylan, pleasure to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you as well.
Tell me a little bit about you. I'm just kidding. I take it all back. You are a big BMW guy.
Big BMW guy.
Okay, speed round. You ready?
Yep.
Favorite BMW generation?
E46.
Okay.
E-chassis. That was wild.
Get out of here.
Pterodactyl.
Sorry. Worst generation.
E30's gonna suck.
Oh my God. No. Most overhyped BMW ever made.
Overhyped BMW?
Yeah.
E30, man. I mean, they're...
Man's got it out for him.
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe like some super old ones, like a 2002, I think are pretty ugly, but they're classic, you know? But I'm honestly not a classic car
They're
guy.
like also like $45,000 now for...
Oh, God.
That's
How
terrible.
about you give me 45 grand and I'll take it?
Exactly. I would literally own anything else. Okay, most underrated BMW.
Well, tough to say because I don't think they've all been explored quite yet, but I think that the 1 Series is going to be a real contender for the future.
Really?
I think it's kind of the perfect wheelbase. If we can figure out the suspension geometry in them, I think that they will be kind of a weapon coming up.
All right, and then how do you feel about Aston Martin?
I think they're dope. My buddy Darren Kelly's got one that sounds real nice.
I was really hoping you were going to say something bad because I was going to go tell Darren Kelly that you're talking shit.
Nah, Darren Kelly's the man, dude.
That's awesome. Talk to me a little bit. How did you start your grassroots drifting at Evergreen Speedway? And then you woke up one day, we're here. Tell me,
exactly.
like, what are the steps that got you here?
So I basically just became obsessed with drift cars when I rode in my buddy's 5-liter Mustang in his driveway. Actually, it's got like a half-mile long driveway with a bunch of twisties in it. First time I'd ever done a burnout, I was probably like 17, 18.
Perfect.
Thought that was just the coolest thing ever. And I have like a motocross dirt bike background. And so I started looking into cars, figured out the S chassis, got a 240, had an SR in it, blew that thing to bits. And then I swapped a V8 into it, probably before I should have, honestly. And I drove for my very first time at Pat Saker's Racing Complex in Portland.
Okay.
So from there, I ended up kind of a crazy series of events. I work for a place called Dirtfish Rally School, which is about 5 minutes from my parents' house where I grew up.
Seen it. It's on TikTok too, I think. I see
Yeah,
it
right.
all the time.
They're killing it. So I ended up working there as a tractor boy because I used to do like heavy equipment machinery operating. So long story short, ended up driving the tractors there, and then I was pretty savvy at working on stuff and welding and fabricating. So I ended up working in the shop, and then Dirtfish sponsored the Red Bull Dodge Rallycross team of Travis Pastrana and Bryce Menzies. So 2013 came, did all sorts of traveling all over the world, multiple X Games rounds, and then I met Chris Forsberg and Ryan Turk, my 3rd time in Vegas that year, 2013, which was SEMA. I ended up working with a guy named Brian Wilkerson, who's Chris Forsberg's crew chief at the time. So I'm like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I'm Chris Forsberg's crew chief, and I'm a massive drift fan at this point. Chris Forsberg, Ryan Turk were like my boys, right?
Yeah.
So I met them, and I harassed them all weekend. I was like, hey, if you guys need help next year, let me know. I don't have any plans. So literally one day, a Pennsylvania number calls me, and I answer the phone. Hello, hey, this is Chris Forsberg, and I basically almost passed out.
Oh my God.
So he says like, hey, I hear that you're like good or whatever. Like if you want to come to Long Beach for round 1, like, you know, you got a ticket. So ended up, he brought on Jonathan Castro to drive his 2nd car. So I was Castro's mechanic for a couple of years, and I moved up to working on Chris's car for a couple of years. And then I won Pro-Am on the East Coast in 2016, my first year running. And then the year after that, I was too broke to run Pro 2. And then the year after that, we did Pro 2. Travis and I battled back and forth for the championship all year. He went 1, I went 2.
That's wild.
We both stepped up into Pro 1 in 2019. And then I built this car in 2020, and we've been jamming ever since.
I like it.
Kind of crazy.
I like it. That's crazy. That's a crazy cool story.
Wild story,
That's awesome.
And there's definitely more twists and turns through it, but that's kind of the overview.
Yeah. All right, time for the real question. You're a car dude, obviously. You know, you got some BMW stuff. What's a hot take you have in the automotive industry right now? What's your hot take, your personal opinion?
You know, like when I first got that 240, I put a V8 in it. I was all V8 all the time. The 2019 E46 that I drove with the Huddy program was a V8 as well, and I thought the V8s were the absolute jam. And then I drove Rad Dan Supra. Okay. And I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, that's it. And then I knew when I built this car, 2019, 2020, I knew that that was going to have a JZ or a turbo inline 6 platform of some sort. So I based this engine around Ryan Turk's when he used to have his FRS.
Okay.
So a proven setup that works, makes really good power, almost into the 4-digit power range. So JZ E46, man, with a bunch of nitrous is probably the sickest shit of all time.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. How's the elevation dealing with it here versus somewhere where you're not as, what, 4,000 square feet?
Yeah, we're 4,000 feet of elevation, basically where my shop is at sea level. Literally, we're right in Newport Beach, California. It's good, man. You know, luckily we have a turbocharger on this thing, and the cool part about that is the elevation affects us, but it doesn't affect us as much as it would an NAV8. So we're down on power for sure, but we're not down as much as most guys because we can just turn the boost up. And as long as you're not overspeeding the turbo,
you're pretty good. You're keeping cool, all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, it's not too upset. Not too upset. Yeah, we had a couple of really banger laps, and I saw probably 215, 220 oil temp. Water temp was only about 210, so it's a little hotter than normal, but it's not too bad.
You gave me the power numbers. All right, what was the power number? You said you had a V8 swapped car.
Yeah.
Do you remember what you were running back then?
Yeah, it was a 70,000 mile. It was a bone stock LS2 out of a 2006 GTO, and it had a T56 6-speed, and it did I think it did 410.
Yeah.
410, right about 410 torque as well, and it jammed, dude. Like in a 240, like it was the jam for a while for sure.
I was just showing Chris this because he had a video he posted up in 2014 of him drifting a Z. I had a Z. I put a 355 supercharged V8 in it.
Sick.
Had a T56, all that sort of good stuff. And it's like it seems like you start in the V8, but then eventually you jump back over to the.
Eventually, you're like, you know what's really awesome is turbos.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
awesome.
All right, well, I think that's all that we got for today because they're setting up chairs for Tippy Cup or something. You have a signing.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be here. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Dylan. Thanks, man.
Good times, man.